In a high-stakes legal maneuver, the Trump administration has appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court to block a lower court's order forcing the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, to disclose records in a Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) lawsuit. This escalating battle over government transparency could reshape how President Donald Trump's efficiency task force operates and set a critical precedent for the balance between executive privilege and public accountability in the United States. Solicitor General D. John Sauer filed an emergency application Wednesday, urging the justices to halt a discovery process ordered by a federal district judge and upheld by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. The lawsuit, initiated by Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington (CREW), in February, demands access to documents detailing DOGE's operations, personnel, recommendations to federal agencies, and internal decision-making processes. The core dispute hinges on whether DOGE qualifies as a federal agency subject to FOIA, which grants public access to government records, or a presidential advisory body exempt from such requirements. Sauer argues that DOGE, also referred to as the U.S. DOGE Service (USDS), operates within the executive office of the president, providing direct counsel to Trump, and is thus exempt from FOIA. The district court's order for sweeping, intrusive discovery to determine DOGE's status undermines FOIA's protections for presidential advisors, Sauer wrote. The discovery includes internal documents, a comprehensive list of DOGE's recommendations to agencies, and a deposition of acting administrator Amy Gleason. Sauer warned that this process threatens the confidentiality of DOGE's advice, potentially stifling candid discussions within the executive branch and violating the constitutional principle of separation of powers. He further argued that such exposure could weaken the president's ability to receive unfiltered advice, a cornerstone of effective governance. DOGE was established in January 2025, when Trump restructured the U.S. Digital Service (USDS) into DOGE through an executive order, tasking it with streamlining federal operations and reducing government expenditure. Initially led by tech billionaire Elon Musk and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, DOGE has faced intense scrutiny for its secretive operations and broad influence. Musk, a special government employee, recently announced plans to focus on his private ventures, leaving Gleason, a former USDS staffer, to lead the organization. DOGE's recommendations, including proposals to cancel federal contracts and grants, have sparked debates about its authority and accountability. CREW's lawsuit contends that DOGE's significant impact on federal agencies renders it subject to FOIA. In March, U.S. District Judge Chris Cooper ruled that DOGE's scope likely qualifies it as an agency, justifying limited discovery to clarify its status. The D.C. Circuit upheld this decision, describing the discovery as modest in scope, and allowing the administration to raise privilege objections on a case-by-case basis. Over a dozen related lawsuits have emerged, challenging DOGE's access to confidential agency systems and its role in federal layoffs, which have reportedly displaced thousands of workers, including health professionals now seeking opportunities in countries like Canada. Critics, including labor unions and transparency advocates, argue that DOGE's lack of openness undermines democratic accountability. The public has a right to know how DOGE is reshaping the federal government, said CREW President Noah Bookbinder, referencing Musk's earlier pledges of transparency. The administration counters that DOGE's advisory role, housed within the executive office, aligns it with other FOIA-exempt entities, such as the National Security Council. This restructuring, they argue, was a deliberate move to protect DOGE's operations from public disclosure requirements. The Supreme Court's decision on this emergency injunction could profoundly impact the balance between executive authority and public oversight. Granting the stay would limit CREW's access to DOGE's records, reinforcing the administration's claim of exemption. A denial could open DOGE's operations to scrutiny, potentially revealing the extent of its influence on federal policy and agency restructuring. The case, drawing significant attention for its implications on government transparency, awaits CREW's response, with legal experts anticipating a swift timeline given the emergency filing. DOGE's actions, including layoffs and contract terminations, have fueled public and legal backlash, with groups like the American Federation of Government Employees demanding greater oversight. The outcome of this appeal could not only define DOGE's future but also shape the limits of executive power in Trump's second term, determining how far advisory bodies can operate beyond public scrutiny.